reach the top somehow.
Yes, my Straight Talk family, it's time for me to bid you a very pleasant night, St. Kitts and Nevis, and as well as the entire Caribbean region. To my Straight Talk family in the Kittitian and the Nevisian diaspora, I say good night. I can say good morning, and I can also say good afternoon, because one of such greetings would be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. You're all over Asia, in Africa, in Europe, and there are a whole lot of you in North America. I got a shout out from my friend all the way down in Venezuela. ¿Cómo está? Hermano mío, buenas noches. I haven't heard him for a long time, so we reach all over the world. I haven't shouted out Guyana down south for a while. My friend in Barbados, in Trinidad and Tobago, come all the way up to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, Grenada, Dominica. Come down to Martinique, Guadeloupe, Sava. Also Antigua and Barbuda. To my friends over there in Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Eustatius, Sabre, and St. Bartholomew, and the USVI and the BVI, we got you covered. We got you all over the world, I must say. And for those who may have joined me for the first time, Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, we do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let's in the process continue. Let's continue, put a question mark, they continue to keep St. Kitts and Nevis as one of the freest countries, believe it or not, one of the freest countries in the world. On this program, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liebert, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation on yet another occasion. My Straight Talk family, I want to discuss tonight my caption, a poor relationship with the truth or sheer incompetence. It's a question I'm asking. Do we have a poor relationship with the truth, or is it sheer incompetence? And my Straight Talk family, as a public servant, I always felt slighted. Believe me, I always felt slighted because some voters, especially when some voters, I should say, when some voters would say to me that they believe that all politicians, on the line, they say all politicians are dishonest. To me, that statement bordered on being so offensive. It bordered on being so offensive, my family. especially if you're someone who works hard. If you're someone who works hard to help the same people who, as my grandmother would say, or used to say, I should say, would turn ungrateful. Now, human beings are not perfect. There's no man, or there's only one man who walked the face of this earth who was perfect. That's Jesus Christ, Jesus Christos. So we are all infallible. And some politicians, though, are unscrupulous. But that cannot justify anyone. It cannot justify anyone who takes up a broad brush and paints all politicians with corruption. Lots of things, for example, have been said about me. Some things even defamatory. And I remember this individual really defamed me some time ago. And I went to my friend and lawyer, a good lawyer, Queen's Counsel. He'll be a King's Counsel now, since we have a king. And you know what my lawyer said to me? He said, man, Patches, don't waste time with that. You may spend years in court fighting that battle. And at the end of the day, get some money, so what? But ever since that time, I adopted the approach, well, boy, I cannot control what you say or what you do. You cannot control what people say and or do, but you can control how you react to what they say or do. I can control how I react to what you say or do. You may not agree with me, but that's how I deal with these matters. Ironically, however, we now have a new breed, I should say, of politicians who come across as if they are paragons of virtue. And they label their opposition counterparts as being corrupt, as treasury rapists. And you know this famous politician who said this:
small acts of corruption tolerated by leaders evolve into systematic corruption, easily and sometimes overnight. Only a leader with integrity can put an end to corrupt practices within the institution he or she leads. Because a leader with integrity will not take bribes, he or she will also seek to eradicate bribery within the structure of the institution by setting clear anti-corruption policies and by policing them. In my context, being a minister of government, albeit for a couple of weeks, the way we plan to begin to tackle the currently existing widespread corruption in our federation is by fully operationalizing the Integrity in Public Life Act, the Freedom of Information Act, and the Anti-Corruption Act, which will work as the three pillars of protection from the treasury rapists that currently exist throughout our ministry.
And yes, we all remember that. He even sent out veiled threats to name and shame opposition supporters and have them shake in their boots, believe it or not, my Straight Talk family.
I'm not afraid of anybody, and I was saying that straight up. I'm not scared of anybody. I was hired to do a job, and I'm going to do that job. So some people should be shaking in their boots right now.
Yes, Drew, Prime Minister Drew, made mention of a self-made, hard-working entrepreneur who started from the bottom. This is what Prime Minister Drew said about this entrepreneur.
I also have on my desk a security firm. That security firm, I have the contract. They make millions of dollars per year. And that company, with the document, as owner by Heston Ham, is not only seen over the government headquarters, the hospital, but other areas. Yes, we see that one security firm, just from the hospital alone, is making millions of dollars.
How many of us recall? As a matter of fact, yesterday we are told, my Straight Dog family, that all contracts of night watch security were terminated by Prime Minister Joe. Night watch security, we are told, employed 80 persons. And I remember when that company started at the JN France General Hospital. How many of us recall when someone was shot dead, I believe, at the JN France Hospital years ago under the Labour administration? But that matters not to Jew, because over the last 6 months, those associated with the ruling party have continued to preach what they have practiced for months during the campaign leading up to the August 5th elections. And my Straight Dog family, now they are in government. They have given a literal meaning to their political mantra during the campaign: get rid of them. You remember that? Get rid of them. To justify what has become their sacred utterance, their political tribal nastiness, the leadership of the ruling party has caused right-thinking people to question whether they just have a poor relationship with truth or its sheer incompetence. We will try to answer that question tonight. But first of all, I invite us to first look at our observations in review, which is that time of the program when we follow the facts and in the process do some reflection. Then we can ask a few questions such as what was accomplished, how have it helped others, what has changed since, and what can be expected next, and what new we learned as a people. Our first observation relates to elections in Antigua and Barbuda. And by now we must have learned that Gaston Brown, Prime Minister Gaston Brown, has been returned. Prime Minister Gaston Brown and his Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party was returned for a third successive term in office. The first time ever in Antigua and Barbuda since adult suffrage, any party has won 3 successive terms. Gaston Brown was his typical self while savoring in his victory.
I know that there's some who will try to demonize the leader, but I say to you, Gaston Brown is still the best leader in this country up to today. And I will also say here too, that wherever I need to realign, I shall realign. I am not perfect, but at the same time, Gaston Brown is an asset to the leadership of the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party and this country. And I will continue to serve you faithfully. I will continue to honor the confidence and trust that you've reposed in me. And I say to you that I will never betray that confidence and trust. If there's one thing they can't say about Gaston Brown, is that I have a problem of integrity. They can't call me a dunsider or underperformer or non-performer.
Typical Gaston Brown. His nemesis, Assad Michael, also made history by being the first independent candidate to win a seat on mainland Antigua. Assad was quite emotional in victory.
I stand here tonight vindicated that I'm the duly elected member of the representatives. I remain a man of the people, for the people, by the people, and with the people.
Assad Michael is a real character, we must add a political character. But the results in Antigua, 9 seats going to the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party with Gaston Brown. 6 to the UPP. The leader lost his seat, but 1 independent, Asad Michael on Antigua, and 1 independent in Barbuda. That makes up the 17 seats. Our second observation tonight relates to the opening of the new session. The opening of the new session of the Nevis Island Assembly. The throne speech was interrupted today by an island-wide electricity outage in Nevis. But I heard this, however, from Deputy Governor General, Her Excellency Ailita Liburd, and this was enough for me, and this was quite appropriate.
My government welcomes all to this, the first sitting of the Nevis Island Assembly since the Nevis Island elections, which were held on 12 December 2022. Elections are now behind us. Now is a time for governing. Let us all move forward. Let us build Nevis together. We are forever mindful that democracy is the rule by the majority, but not at the expense of the minority.
Yes, my straight dog family, time to govern. Mitchell Slack, an attorney at law, we are told, straight dog cannot confirm, but we are told that she works in the law firm of Daniel Brantley, the law firm which is owned by Mark Brantley, and of which he is still the senior partner. And while many have congratulated Michelle Slack, questions have been asked as to whether she should be president of the assembly while being an employee of one of the sitting members of the assembly. Questions of impartiality and independence of a president in the Nevis Island Assembly who goes to work every day in the very law firm of the Premier. Many questions have been asked. Would she do his bidding is one question, because her daily livelihood depends on Mark Brantley. So how can she be detached when she presides and rules in the assembly? But Mark Brantley never surprises me, however. That sounds like the man, typical Mark Brantley. But I wait patiently nonetheless for his presentation of the Nevis Island Administration's budget. That has to come someday. I understand that the electricity has been restored all over Nevis, and that's good news. Having listened to the post-cabinet briefing as my next observation of Monday, 17 January, I find it necessary to commend the Drew administration for taking the bold and wise step in the right direction towards finding a suitable solution to our water problems in St. Kitts. I believe it's the right step.
An adequate, reliable, and safe supply of potable water is essential to the health and development of our nation. In this regard, Cabinet approved a proposal for the construction of a 3 million gallon per day seawater reverse osmosis desalination plant. The approved project will also include a 2 megawatt wind farm which will power the desalination plant.
My Straight Talk family, this is something I have advocated for almost 7 years, and it really pleases my heart to learn of this decision to go reverse osmosis or desalination, which I fully support. It has long been established that one of the dire consequences of climate change is the reduction in rainfall. And for the want of me, I just cannot understand why any government would waste money on a drilling contract with Bead. Bead extracts money, not water. the entire federation is situated in an ocean with water can't done, to use a colloquial term. As a matter of fact, 2/3 of the Earth's surface is covered with water, which is why I am told it is called the Blue Planet. Research has also informed me that the ocean, which holds 97% of all this water, is formally divided into 5 main basins: the Pacific, the Atlantic, also the Indian, Arctic, and Southern Oceans. In fact, however, it is described as one massive body of water, also called the global ocean, that connects the whole world. But furthermore, there still is a 2 million gallon reverse osmosis plant, a desalination plant, lying idle at the valley in Sandy Point since 2007 under Labour. I remember speaking with the elected representative of Sandy Point about commissioning that plant. And believe it or not, he told me that Sandy Point ain't got no water problem. It cannot harm, even at this stage, therefore, to investigate the possibility of commissioning the said plant in Sandy Point, also the 2 or 2 megawatt generator on the same Valley site, which is there lying idle since 2007. Yes, Skelec, believe it or not, Skelec is going to rent generators. Would you believe that? Skelec is going to rent generators according to the post-cabinet briefing by the cabinet secretary.
The cabinet approved financial assistance to the St. Kitts Electricity Company Limited, Skelec, to procure rental power generation capacity of an additional 6 megawatts. This intervention is critically important to avoid possible load shedding, given that Skelec has planned overhauls and other repairs to its current power generation fleet commencing by the end of January 2023.
But would you believe, though, with all the electricity and water woes, in particular the electricity, this Jew administration has stopped the implementation of the solar project or solar farm project, a 16 megawatt solar farm that would provide base load during the demand period. But this administration has double standards. Our last observation, my straight dog family, again relates to the Jew administration that had a song and dance about 7,000 persons on the pap. You remember that? Elections, so they fill up the pap with people. You remember that?
When the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party won the general elections on August 5th, 2022, there were 7,469 payees receiving either regular PAP or PAP as expanded for COVID. The monetary value for each was $3,480,000, payable to 6,960 regular PAP beneficiaries and $254,500 to PAP as expanded for COVID 509 beneficiaries. This totaled a grand payout of $3,734,500.
Who would believe, my straight dog family, that Jeffrey Hanley started eating his vomit and now plans to increase that number on the PAP to 12,000 persons? Not me. He said that, my straight dog family.
We had close to 1,200 applications, 12,000 applications for the PAP initiative. The Ministry of Social Development, the entire team is doing the verification process right now, checking with all of the agencies, including Social Security, making sure that the Social Security numbers are correct, the information that persons shared are accurate. We are hoping that we can restart by the end of this month after certain verification would have taken place, of course.
From 7,000 to 12,000, what will be the cost? We ask, but I'm happy that people who are in need will be getting that social assistance through the poverty alleviation program. Those are my observations in review for tonight, my Straight Talk family. But I get to my thesis, my main topic tonight. And I want to say in the process that politics is an extremely tough business. And Prime Minister Drew has no doubt discovered this in his past 6 months in office. He has discovered, no doubt, that a parliamentary majority does not protect anyone from personal criticism. And many of the government's current woes can arguably be traced back to the Prime Minister's poor relationship with the truth or his sheer incompetence. Terence Drew is swiftly building a reputation that is certainly not based on a view that he tells the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I always found it so sad as a politician myself when voters generally do not consider politicians to be particularly trustworthy. The Prime Minister's relationship with the truth came under intense scrutiny at his press conference yesterday, when he refused to give full explanations on so many questions posed by the reporters. And I blame these reporters for not following up on their question. It is not the first time that Drew had to face questions about the CBI passports, but he has bluntly refused to answer each time, my Straight Talk family.
CBI, I have 3 parts. Passports, can you give an update on the number of passports issued to economic citizens over the past year? And if you can, compare that number to some previous years. Can you update us on the prison project involving, and give us an indication as to how many passports have been issued or citizenship have been granted under that project? What's the status? My second question relates to Christopher Harbour and Petition Hill. What is the status of the loans that were issued by the SIDF to these 2 entities? And secondly, in the case of Christopher Harbour, are the developers still continuing in the program to develop the particular area? Can you give an update on the status? Those are my 2 questions for now.
With respect to the SIDF, I would say from the onset, the SIDF has not forgiven any loan. I want to make that clear. The SIDF has its interest in the Christopher Harbour, we know that, and it owns about 30% of that development presently. And that is where it resides, the ownership with the SIDF, well, at 30%. So there's no forgiveness, neither from the SIDF standpoint or from Petition Hill standpoint. So I just wanted to make that clear. Christopher Harbour? Yes, well, Christopher Harbour, yes, it's still a viable project. It is a project that is seeking, of course, new investments and so forth. And as a result of that, there is a need, or almost they are seeking to have new investment, let me say that, so that the project can reach its fruition. But I would say that we own The SIDF, owns 30% of it. That is his interest in the project. The project continues, and now they are seeking now to move the project further along. But the fundamental question, I think, that is in this is what has happened with respect to monies from the SIDF. I'm telling you that the position is the SIDF still has its interest right in there. Nothing has been relinquished.
You know, my Straight Dog family, I told a friend of mine, and I heard about the press conference yesterday, that I really don't want to listen to the press conference, but I still had to listen. And you know, my Straight Dog family, Prime Minister Drew has shown time and time again that he's not qualified to serve. His Attorney General as well has blatantly violated his constitutional oath and duty to our nation and our people. It's sheer incompetence at best. And the Kittitian and Nevisian people deserve a Prime Minister and an Attorney General who will actually do the job. Prime Minister Drew at his press conference yesterday, I asked the question, who told Prime Minister Drew? Who told Prime Minister Drew to say that the SIDF owns $200 million in the Christopher Harbour? He said 30% if it values at $600 million. Some nonsense like that. Now, I participated in the meetings organized by Prime Minister Harris and Buddy Darby at the Dominica Room in the Marriott Hotel. We discussed one, the loan document that was signed by Terence Crosman, the now and new managing director of the St. Kitts, Nevis and Anguilla National Bank. Terence Crosman signed the loan document on behalf of the SIDF. 2. The KHT joint venture agreement shows the SIDF paid $300 for its share of Christopher Harbour. Perhaps, Prime Minister Drew, you should swallow your pride and have a discussion with Timothy Harris, or former Prime Minister Harris. He can help you. Because Drew is not getting good advice. Timothy Harris is not like Prime Minister Drew. He would not get up and bang his mouth at the press conference about things that people around him mislead him about. When Harris became Prime Minister, Timothy Harris was told the same foolishness about SIDF owning 30% of Christopher Harbour. But what did Timothy Harris do? Well, he's a scholar with a PhD, a doctorate in governmental accounting and financing. So what he did? He advised and arranged for Grant Thornton, one of the big 4 accounting firms in the world. He arranged to commission, or for Grant Thornton to be commissioned, to value SIDF's interests in Christopher Harbour. Prime Minister Drew, Grant Thornton produced a comprehensive 61-page report and a 3-page summary, a cover letter dated March 23rd, 2017. It's in your files. But for Dr. Drew's information, I propose to educate you tonight at no cost, for free. Or I might send you a bill later, because you're rather pompous. My Straight Talk family, I will bet any one of you tonight that from this show tonight, your show, is the first time Prime Minister, or the first time, rather, Prime Minister Drew may be hearing that the Team Unity government commissioned a valuation of the SIDF's interests at Christopher Harbour. You heard he said, your or their or the SIDF. SIDF is our. It's our money. But I will bet you as well, he has not seen or even heard of this report before. So he should thank me for this information. But all he depends on is his Attorney General, Garth Wilkin, who all he can do is go to court behind my back to try to shut me up. Let me read for you, my Straight Dog family. And I know Prime Minister Drew will hear this as well. That's why I'm giving him free, pro bono. Let me read an excerpt from the evaluation conclusion of Grant Thornton, as I said, one of the world's big four accounting firms, and I quote, SIDF owns 30% of the outstanding shares of KHT. Thus, their pro rata equity value is in a range of $8,431,000 to $10,627,000. For further clarification, it should be noted that this is the equity value after the related party notes mentioned above have been fully repaid. SIDF is a 30% shareholder in KHT, and Derby is a 70% shareholder. Due to this, SIDF is therefore a minority or in a minority position, and thus their equity position is subject to certain discounts. Based on this, the report continues, we have determined a minority discount of 15 to 20% for the SIDF position, which results in their fair market value being in a range of $6,745,000 to $8,502,000 on a 20% discount, and $7,176,000 to $9,033 base, or $33,000 that should be based on a 15% discount. End of quote. So my Straight Talk family, I ask the question again. Who told Prime Minister Drew to say at a press conference in front of the whole world that SIDF owns $200 million in Christopher Harbour? What nonsense. He just got up and said that? He didn't check it out? My Straight Dog family, our nation is in the hands of someone who is ill-informed and unprepared for the job of leadership. After all, the accolades were heaped upon Timothy Harris for his sterling delivery of good governance and sound financial management. I believe we need to get down on our knees tonight and pray for our nation. We need to pray. I was part of the negotiations, and the problem from Buddy Darby's point of view was that the 400 acres they agreed to give up was the collateral for the two unsatisfied loans Christopher Harbour had at the same time with the National Bank. They had two loans at the National Bank which they never serviced. $60 million for one and $6 million the other. And that's US dollars I'm quoting. And National Bank had to get suitable fresh collateral from Christopher Harbour to substitute for that 400-acre parcel. Well-known surveyor, Calvin Esdale, he won't mind if I call his name, identified a parcel of land measuring 275 acres in the vicinity of Park Hyatt as suitable collateral to substitute for the 400 acres. And then Christopher Harbour reneged on the whole deal. They abruptly broke off the negotiations, saying they would think it over the Thanksgiving in 2018. But the breaking point was that Christopher Harbour set out a timetable for them to get the further loan from National Bank. And Prime Minister Harris rightly said to transfer the land first. Transfer the land? Let's talk about the loan. That meant they had to agree to substitute the collateral for the bank first. They could not bring themselves to it. I was involved. So I'm not talking from hearsay. I am talking firsthand. I was between Buddy Darby and his son. Buddy on my left, his son on my right. I was actually trying to get my straight dog family. I wish I could have got into Drew's head. I wish. But we know that both SIDF and the National Bank wanted land for their debt. And there should be no other arrangement. Give up the land. Give up the land if you want that debt liquidated. We also know that the bank debt cannot be written off by the government, as this has to be done by shareholders. The bank went to the court. The bank already went to the court. We know that, Prime Minister Joe. And for foreclosure. And the value issues were raised. But what we are saying, SIDF and the bank want land for their debt. It's not no fake news, Prime Minister Joe. The point is that either Joe has a poor relationship with the truth or it is sheer incompetence. That's my story tonight, my straight dog family, and I am not going to change it. I'm going to stick to it. I will open the lines and entertain your calls and your emails. There's some other things I want to say on this topic tonight as well. But I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you, my straight dog family, about this poor relationship that the cabinet, Andrew in particular, has with the truth. But I'm going to open the lines right now. But I must first of all implore you to respect yourselves. And of course, to do that, to respect others, beg your pardon. And of course, to do that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure that the things we say and do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in saying and doing those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. With 13 minutes before 9, I go to the lines. Call you live.
Good evening, Patrick. Happy New Year to you, sir. Hope all is well.
Happy New Year to you, my brother. Oh, I am peaceful. What about yourself?
Oh, doing good. You're flying the other day and I see your face stands up permanently. Your peers against Patrick's pay. Anyhow, you've done a lot for St. Kitts and your honesty. Anyhow, I understand you and Gas had a run-in. It's all conjecture on my part, but it sounds like bullying, like you're being bullied. But you're a man don't stand for bullying. So, he's backing up you on tree. You know something, Patches? You put any black man or black woman in a position of power, you'll get no justice from them as a black person. You stand a better chance with the white man. Trust me. Don't listen to that radio station you hear here with all those buffoons talking crap. Okay? But you've done a lot for St. Kitts, and you're highly intelligent, man. You've done a lot for St. Kitts. And so Dr. Harris, too. But it sounds like I say, it sounds like bullying. And, you're a man who don't take things. But you cannot say, well, black people. No, black people will screw you down. They will rob you. I've been a king of that in St. Kitts, okay? I'm telling you. Now, the elites in St. Kitts, not all, but most of them, especially the labor mafia elites, they tend to criminalize freedom of speech. I hear you keep saying Sinkers is the freest country and one the freest country. That's nonsense. Okay? But especially the labor mafia keys, they don't believe in freedom of speech. Okay? I was thinking in fact, actually, I was thinking Jew, and Cat were the ideal people to make Sinkers Nevis a better place, a more civilized place. I mean, you'll be leading them, but hopefully that thing. So what happened? If you three guys can't get what happened? Sinkers could become more civilized with you three guys, but she must do Jew. She must do a lot of people turn against him. He still haven't given you the information, right? And the citizen by investment people, I don't think he has, right?
No, he has not.
Anyhow, he did?
No, that's a new paradigm, a new way of a new transparency, new way. A new way. What he said, new way, better day.
Yeah, but like I said, he got to straighten up himself. Like I said, he needs you and guys too. Guys he could do right, but he walked in that OECS code. You cannot walk in that OECS code and be any good. Let me tell you, I'll tell you about them sometime, but don't put all these trust in these guys, Patrick. But I still think you, Dad, and Andrew can turn things around if he listens to you. Okay? You guys could do it. Think it will become a more civilized place. Because it's a mess right now. No, you were praising up, you came here and was praising up those judges and things. You were praising them up and the lawyer. Let me tell you, you're making a big mistake. Don't praise them up. These people are corrupt and incompetent. I'll tell you straight up. And I'll tell you about them sometime, okay? I'll tell you about them. Now, one of the places, the judiciary is a mess. It's a total mess. Anyhow, Patrick, there's two women in there. Two women that, oh my God, they behave like masked women. I'll tell you about them right on this here. Anyhow, one of the places I visited was St. Matt, and the people seem civilized. Black, maybe because the white men are controlling it. Seem very civilized. They stop the car a mile away for you. That's St. Martin. It's small and everything, but they seem very civilized and very helpful. Anyhow, but a lot of things going on in Sinkers is that station over there. That station with the groundless people. It's all buffoonery and divisiveness. That need to shut that down, that station. It's a mess. It's a total mess. One thing you're preaching about black. No, you're keeping black people divided. Buffoonery and divisiveness. Uncivilized garbage. Anyhow, Patrick, good to hear you again and all the best to you. Okay, keep doing for Sinkers what you've always done. Have a good evening, sir.
Have a good evening, my dear brother. Always very assertive. Always talk your mind. And that's what Straight Talk is all about. And we go straight back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Back to the lines. Caller.
Are you there, caller?
You're live. Hello, caller.
Okay, we seem to be having some difficulty with that line. But the lines are open, my Straight Talk family. If you are a first timer, our numbers are 869-663-6672. And those in the diaspora, 646-829-6672. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Mr. Patrick?
My dear brother, how are you?
I'm fine.
This is the Bible.
I am very fine and wonderful. I am reading from Numbers chapter 30, verse 19. Here they say, I called heaven and earth recorded this day against you that I set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life that thou may live, that thou thy seed may live. Now, Mr. Package, listen here today, tonight. I ain't gonna talk too long, because we're not in a yes. I God is saying to us, He set before us life and death. God did not violate our will. He is the creator of the whole universe. If God didn't want to violate our will, He would do it. But He tells us, He gives us a free choice. And He tells us, choose life. And I'm saying to you tonight, Mr. Patrick, you don't worry. God is in control. Mr. Patrick, in Second Chronicles, this is the last thing I can tell you. In Second Chronicles chapter 20, there were three enemies come up against Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat went in the house of the Lord, and Jehoshaphat fled the trouble before God. And first he prayed and fast, and God intervened. And God sent a message. You know what God said, Jehovah? He said, this battle, you need not to fight in this battle. Stand still and see the salvation of your Lord your God. And Jehovah come out restored because he believed in God. Mr. Patrick, good night and see you.
Good night, my brother. Always good to hear you and get your interventions, your biblical interventions, which keep us focused, keep us calm, you know. And in the event you have just joined us, my Straight Dog family, we are, as our main discussion tonight, we caption it's quite straightforward and to the point. Our caption relates to the poor relationship with the truth. Or we ask the question, is there a poor relationship with the truth? Or is it a question of sheer incompetence? And when we see what's happening before us as our new administration and the victimization, the things they're doing, one has to ask quite rightly if we are the freest country in the world. I put a question mark to that now. I quite frankly say that. Caller, you're live. Thank you for holding. Hello, caller.
Hello, good night. How are you?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
Okay, you could hear me? Because my radio not working so good.
We hear you loud and clear. Listen to your telephone.
Okay.
What's happened to your radio?
You know?
You what?
Mm-hmm. Okay, good night.
Good night, my dear.
Yesterday, almost 10 people called out. So I have to thank the Lord for every day life. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mr. Levert, I went out. When I come back, I had a press conference Congress was talking about water. I think when he went Paris to talk about water, I thought he passed. He posed some old joyride. He went far, and they will build well all over. Just talk. They didn't have no idea. And the big and bad was talking about integrity and what they're going to do next month. You must look in the mirror first. And the big and bad age, you think they could fool the resters. Stop your own tricks. $1,000 if police catch you. You think the resters don't have no sense. Say smoke a yard and set away places they don't build. It's a function. Let them trouble. Let them not trouble the sea water. They lack of idea. Playing with the black people because he don't like them. Trust him, a lot of things will happen. Come in, take like a whirlwind. You're going out like one. Do integrity for 20 years. Where was you? Still was under Timothy. I'm talking about boundary. It's the same boundary had them here. So change if they want. Next month, whatever they want to do and tax, their own people will be in it. Stop victimize and turn away people. People, there is petition. They can't eat bread in their own country. It's a shame. And all the foreigners doing better than the petition. They will take over soon, only a matter of time. Where is the pastors? People them is their people and is their member if I get in a comeback. And they said $1,000 for the police if they catch you. And they're still telling the rest that they must do this and do that. See you.
Thanks a lot, my dear sister. Sounds like Alice in Wonderland. And I just saw an update in relation to a missing national in the U.S., New York. I know him well, my good friend Lionel Burritt, we used to call him. We just saw something going across the social media that this missing individual was found, and gratitude is being sent out on behalf of the family. So that's good news, my Street Dog family. And this lady sent me a prayer. I just found this prayer and hold on to the word. God bless reads this message. And I'd like to share that prayer with you. It relates and it's captioned in court cases. Further, in the name of Jesus, or I think I should read it from the beginning, I believe. Yes, I didn't start at the beginning. I am a true witness, and all my words are upright and in right standing with you, Father. By my long forbearing and calmness of spirit, the judge is persuaded, and my soft speech breaks down the most bone-like resistance. Therefore, I am not anxious beforehand, or I shall reply in defense or what I am to say. For the Holy Spirit teaches me in that very hour and moment what I ought to say to those in the outside world. My speech is seasoned with salt. I thank you, Father, that Satan and all menacing spirits are bound from operating against me. For I am strong in you, Lord, and in the power of your might. Your shield of faith quenches every fiery dart. Thank you, Father, that I increase in wisdom and in stature and years and in favor with you, God and man. Praise the Lord. It continues, and it says in court cases, further, in the name of Jesus, it is written in your word to call on you, and you will answer me and show me great and mighty things. I put you in remembrance of your word and thank you, that you watch over it to perform it. I say no weapon formed against me shall prosper, and my tongue that and any tongue, beg your pardon, that rises against me in judgment, I shall show to be in the wrong. This peace, security, and triumph over opposition in my inheritance as your child, this is the righteousness which I obtained from you, Father, which you impart to me as my justification. I am far from even the thought of destruction, for I shall not fear, and terror shall not come near me. Father, you say, you will establish me to the end. Keep me steadfast, give me strength, and guarantee my vindication. That is, be my warrant against all accusation or indictment. Father, you contend with those who contend with me, and you perfect that which concerns me. I dwell in the secret place of the Most High, and this secret place hides me from the strife of tongues, for a false witness who breathes out lies is an abomination to you. Thank you for that prayer, my Straight Dog family. Yes, we are a praying people, and this country as well needs prayer. It's 9:05, my Straight Dog family. You may have just joined us. And we are discussing in the main, my Straight Dog family, that the country seems to be lacking leadership. But I'll get back to that. Let me go to the lines and entertain our next caller at 5 after 9. Caller, you're live.
Good evening, Dr. Jan Patches.
How are you, my brother?
Your radical friend is okay, man. I'm cool, I'm good.
How is the volcano? It sounds as if you just woke up.
Yeah, well, we get some rain up there, so it keep down the heat a little bit.
Okay. And how are my friends in Montserrat? Montserrat, good night. I haven't heard you for a while. Hope all is well in Montserrat. Yes.
Everything is well up there, man. All is well up there. Let me start from Buckley's where I was born. Let me start with the problem in that area. The hospital, and then I will walk my way all the way over to Nag's Head. That is, when I was in Joseph in France Hospital, 2005, yes. It had two of us there. Our bed were close to each other. And both of us had the same medical, surgical problem. And the Saturday night, the police then brought in a young man. And they put him in to the bottom of my foot. And from the time the police then brought him, he's sitting on the bed and he was searching his luggage and whatnot. And then he was going, what they bring me here for? The kind of stupid talk. Well, it's Sunday morning, when we do, two policemen came up in plain clothes. And they went and they searched the guy's bed. They lift up the pillow, they lift up the bed, and there was a pot of pow under the bed. And I asked him, boy, what are you doing with this here? What are you doing with this in here? He tell the police them, it's me, he. I said, what's stopping you here? But my partner look across, watch me, because if anybody they come shoot after he, we will have to drop off the bed and go under the bed because we couldn't run. So showing you, when they remove the security company from up the hospital, for whatever political reason, they're going backward and they're sinking down deeper in the quicksand. Up there is a place you cannot do without security, because when somebody wants to take out somebody, they don't care who around. They're going and they're going to take out the person, and if anybody see them, they take them out. Look what happened in emergency room there a couple years ago. Them conceited gunman went in emergency room, no respect for other people in there, and kill one in there with a gun. So instead of they increase the security at the hospital, they reduce it.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, my dear brother. I'm really sorry about this. I don't like to interrupt my callers, but it's not that they're going to get rid of security. Drew is the minister with responsibility for health and prime minister. And he's going to replace with his due labor security. That's what's happening in the country. Everything for Dr. Joe, everyone is a political appointee. And he said that he can't, if you're political appointees, you got to go. That's why he's victimizing all people. So I understand he's going to replace the security. I trust that and hope that they talk about procurement, so they'll advertise for that security.
Well, here is Patrice. That is, if you're not going to remove something, you cannot replace it. So therefore, he's removing
yes.
to replace who he going to put there.
Okay, got you.
Okay, now, so people, government, you all don't be ashamed to follow good advice from people. A lot of things that you're going to doing, you know fully well that they're going to cost more money than what was estimated from the former administration. But pride is what killing you. You look a big dog and swallow a sprat and let it choke it. Now let me go salt pan. And then you stay long because you're going to make me second shot when I come back. Now with the $130 million that salt pan the SIDF, what is the equivalent of 40% to 140 million? So because the government have 40% share in it, that means that the balance is right off. That is the kind of explanation the Prime Minister give to the question them. Up to now, the man didn't answer no kind of question that he was asked about over there. He didn't answer none. He come telling about percentage and how much money and the investors them and all kind of thing from all kind of foolishness from SIDF. Why he like to bob and weave so? He like a bantamweight in a ring with a heavyweight boxer. Bob and weaving and all kind of thing. And so the question them, Dr. Joe, and you conceited Attorney General, just as bad are you running from the rightful answer to the question? People want question answers. The question been asked, how many passports you signed since you're India? And up to now, you ain't coming with the answer. You ain't coming with the answer, but I'll come back, Patrice. Let me move along. Shepton, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Well, in fact, all the money is not owed to the SIDF. In fact, there are two loans to creditors, the SIDF and the Senkis, Nevis, Anguilla National Bank. They had two loans from the National Bank, a $60 million plus a $6 million loan. That's $22 million plus interest, of course, which they have not paid 1 cent on. They have not paid the $16 million, which is about $43 million. That too has accumulated interest. So that there are loans owed to the SIDF, which is the government period, and the National Bank loan as well. And yes, you've answered the question. You made the point, and he has not answered the questions. And even the reporter followed up on him, and he still did not answer. Remember this?
I'm seeking a follow-up from the last presser where I asked about the total number of CBI applications. We haven't had an update since 2018. And the total number of applications processed and the number signed off by your administration and the breakdown of the nationalities. And now my questions for today. Mr. PM, I think you missed Mr. Bad's question and the update for the prison project. Adding on to that, has your administration signed off on any new shares for that project, and what has been the share price for passports under that project? And also, you spoke of plans to wean the Federation off its dependency on the CBI program. How achievable is this, considering how inflated the economy may have become due to the benefits of that program? And how long do you think the Federation would take to be weaned off that program.
All right, thank you very much for that. With respect to the prison project, we are evaluating that project still. Remember that project had an agreement to it which had bound the government to some extent as well, and work had already been started. So we are bound to that to some extent. The other thing with respect to the total number of CBI, we, as you know, went through a whole transition. We now have a new CEO of the unit who has done an audit with respect to those questions. You're asking very specific questions as to the number, the amount, and the number of passports or citizenship associated with a particular project, how much we gave, and so forth. So those numbers, I will direct you to get the answers to that, so that you can have closure to that. And now that we have gone through the transition and the audit is being done, those questions now would be able to be answered. As you know, we went through that transition. With respect to the weaning, let me address that. It's not that we don't think the CBI program is important. It's fundamental. It's important. I think what I want to clarify here is not that the CBI program would not continue to be a part of nation building and advancement, but that our dependence on it should not be weighted at this point in time. So what we are doing is diversifying the economy so that we can have other sectors that are strong and contributing to the overall development and advancement, and that CBI. When we came into office, CBI was about 50 to 60%. I mean, that is extremely high. Means, therefore, that the number of the other sectors within the economy had fallen back, and so we are strengthening those. For example, we are strengthening agriculture. We are strengthening our tourism product. We are strengthening new investment, and investment that we are seeking investments that are not predicated on the CBI program. And some of those investments we will announce very, very shortly, but we want our people to know that the CBI program, we have strengthened it because it is a critical part, and we are not saying it should go away, and we don't want it to go away. But what we want to do is to diversify our economy so that we make sure that we have multiple legs standing on, and not fundamentally one leg. So that leg is knocked out or become affected adversely, negatively, that we suffer more than we should. We are looking at our energy sector. Energy as a sector to which the minister will speak to. And so the ministers here can speak to their own ministry. And most of them have projects, are seeking investments to advance our country economy, to diversify. So we are seeking diversification as part of our new thrust. But we understand that CBI is a fundamental part, and we seek to strengthen it, to protect it, so that it can continue to help in nation building.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
You know, my Stray Dog family, the last caller just said that the Prime Minister did not address, or he missed Bart's question. He did not. You know, he avoided the questions. And if you listen to the Prime Minister carefully just now, you will agree that if he does not have a poor relationship with the truth, then it is sheer incompetence. Because what does a new CEO at the Citizenship by Investment Unit has to do with passports? The CIU processes the applications, ensure that there's due diligence, and then they send that down to the Prime Minister, who is the minister responsible for citizenship. The application goes to the Minister or Minister of National Security, who is the Prime Minister. So National Security is responsible for the passports, the issuance of passports. That information resides in his ministry, in which he is responsible for. And he has a constitutional obligation, right, to generally supervise and manage the Ministry of National Security, and as such manage the passports. So don't come give us no baloney about did an audit. Audit my tail, right? You must tell the country what it is. You must know how many CORs, how many applications you signed since you've been there. We understand You've signed over 3,000 of them for the prison project. So why are you trying to fool intelligent people in St. Kitts and Nevis about an audit has been done and a new CEO? What nonsense! You have a poor relationship with the truth, or you're just sheer incompetent Prime Minister. And I say so respectfully. This message reads, my Straight Dog family, it's 19 past the 9 o'clock hour. This message reads, Patches, all who love democracy and want to see the sustainability of it in the Federation must thank you for your boldness and courage to be the voice of the opposition to expose the government in every aspect of mismanagement, corruption, victimization, deception, and lies, reads that email. This other email reads, Mr. Lieben, you asked a question some weeks ago, who will speak for St. Kitts in the opposition in the House? It was a very significant question because the so-called leader of the opposition, Mark Brantley, is only the opposition leader in name, not in action, for he will never condemn the government for any wrongdoing as long as he remains in bed with the Labour administration. Many people are still at a loss as to why he did not give Sean the post of the opposition leader. Sean's excellent presentation on the budget was demonstrative of a bona fide opposition leadership. In contrast to Mark's presentation, which sounded as though he was a government minister without portfolio. It's now 20 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour, my Straight Dog family. If you have just joined us, we were reflecting on this particular topic and comments as well from the Prime Minister. And very interesting, he made this comment yesterday to a question about revenue sharing with Nevis.
Very much for that. I would say that what existed with respect to the St. Kitts Nevis arrangement, it was what you call budgetary support of I think $5 million per month. That still continues. However, in speaking to the Premier, he and I met very early in the term, and we had decided that we are going to put a committee together. That committee will look at matters of the relationship of St. Kitts and Nevis, the revenue sharing arrangement. As you know, the Constitution speaks to the revenues that you get through tax. It doesn't speak to non-taxable revenues, such as the CBI program. And so that committee is being put together. Just recently, I spoke to the Premier again, and he has said once he has given his throne speech that, and I think it's this week, maybe tomorrow, that will sit to make sure that that committee comes together. We're going to seek external help from the experts who understand the relationship in a federation between the entities and how that arrangement can be strengthened. So we are not going to just look at it from the revenue standpoint or the sharing of revenues, but we're going to look at the Constitution and seek help in terms of how that should be done. So the questions of equity, we are seeking to settle those, and that is one. So once the committee is formed, that committee will be announced to the country. They will get to work with a specific mandate, a few of which I mentioned in my statement previously, to make sure that we can resolve that matter.
Thank you, PM. AG?
Criminal action.
You know, my Straight Dog family, it is strange how things are coming around. Now, the government recognizes that it has to govern. And it's important to inform the Prime Minister and his cabinet that revenue is revenue. Your estimates provided information on what is called total revenue. That's how you got your total revenue less your total expenditure. That's how you got your surplus, Prime Minister Drew, who is the Minister of Finance. So this is nonsense about non-tax revenue and tax revenue. Revenue is revenue. In the very budget that you presented to the Parliament, the budget estimates, it has what it calls economic classifications. Don't start stupidness about revenue and non-tax revenue, and you have to look at non-tax revenue differently. It's an economic classification. That's what your estimates say. Economic classifications they have. So your total revenue is your total revenue. Let me say good night to Sonia, Cabell, Calmin, Andrea, Marlene, Viola, Yvette, Tafari, Wixia, Shirley, and Jacqueline, all my Facebook massive here. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Okay, I am back, Patrick, with a long haul. Now, the topic that you say you're going to focus on tonight is something like something to do with truth. Well, this is the way I'm going to look at it. Drew and Gat, they are all foreigners to the truth. And the next thing that they can do good is waste the government money. And are you asking Mr. Gat, I hope he inquire with the amount of money the government wasted down La Valley by putting up all them green tinning fence. The cost of putting up those green tinning fence and the cost of the desalination plant that they brought in the country and never been put into use, and the cost of the generator that also never been put into use. They're still down there. So I want him to find out from them why they waste the treasury money down in La Valley. That's your job, Mr. Gat. Since you want to investigate and you can name and shame people, name and shame who got them down there. You do that. That is, let me say this here to the world. I like the verse in the Bible. 7 things the Lord hate. And the most important one, outstanding one, a proud look, hands were shed innocent blood, and a lying tongue. Well, for me, culture here, I would rather somebody thief me money, but don't thief me tools. I would rather for somebody who got cockabee, spit in my face, and even kick me before they tell me a lie. Don't tell me no lie. Because if you kick me, maybe only you want see you kick me. But once you tell a lie, the whole globe gonna hear that you mash up my integrity and my character. So those liars, they cannot convince me with nothing that come out of their mouth. Because all they can do is to tell lies and fabricate truth just to impress people. Impress people that they're doing good. They ain't doing no good. They're doing worse than those who they criticize. Look what they say. Oh, we are not going to victimize nobody. Everybody going to hold the job and whatnot. But look what they're doing. Who are victimizing the turning way just because of your political affiliation? You ain't do nothing. If you ain't offend the company have some rules. Anybody offend them, well then down the road. And you ain't offend none of them. And they're going to fire you, all because you're not backing them with the labor. All they could do is to kick down poor people and keep you coming back with your hands stretched out. The one up Newton, he talking about he increased the what they call top or what we call it. I wonder if any money gone up where think it's got grass to cut up in Tallahassee. I wonder if them they get the increase too. When they're saying they're gonna change up this because they had a lot of loophole and they're gonna do this way, better make the loophole them bigger. They ain't doing nothing different. Nothing different. And they already falling apart. All of them. But Patrick, you have a good night, rest tonight. That's all I could remember for now. I'll see you next week, God willing.
Thank you, my dear brother. Have yourself a wonderful weekend. Saying good night to Inez in Boston, my dear Lady Margaret as well, Stanford, John Carroll, my Newtown lady. And how are you, nurse? Hope you are doing well. Good evening, sir. Listening from Chicago, as always, a quiet listener. Can the bank foreclose on the project? And if they can, why they haven't done that and take full control of that project? I am sure if it was a poor person that hasn't paid a penny on their mortgage, that bank surely would have done something either to get their money or take back the house. It's so sad how these travesties happen in small St. Kitts, and the government is so incompetent to serve its own people. I'll be listening some more. Well, the bank, in fact, had moved to the court for foreclosure, as far as I know, the last board of directors. But the board of directors changed with the new government, and I am aware that at the court they were actually sorting out the valuation of the lands. It's not all the lands for the project, because remember that project has or got some 2,500 acres of land. As a matter of fact, the Douglas administration acquired lands from a private investor, a private owner rather, and then handed over to this private investor. So the lands that were disputed are some 400 acres of land, which is up for collateral, and the court was actually establishing the value of the land, but the bank, in fact, had moved to the court in order to effect the foreclosure. So that is, in fact, before the court. To answer your question, we don't know what this new board is doing, because, in fact, you have a new board, and the very interesting and intriguing matter is that this new board has now its managing director in the bank, who is Terence Crosman, who in fact negotiated and signed the SIDF loan agreement with Christopher Faber. So we are all looking to see what hanky-panky, if any, he will come with. And that's what's on the focus. And that's why you heard you trying to fool us that they did not, or it's fake news. What fake news? Greetings, Patches reads this email. Happy New Year, my friend. Do you believe any cabinet minister who says he's promoting and bringing freedom of information legislation, but who demonstrates that he is not to be subject to public scrutiny or criticism? Additionally, I am keen to know if you believe that any of the members of the current cabinet, whether elected or appointed, are entitled to immunity from scrutiny, even if that scrutiny involves personal matters. In my humble opinion, any minister who is the subject of swirling rumors of wrongdoing has an obligation to come to the public and provide a full explanation of the facts, whether those facts confirm the rumors or alternatively prove them false. Reads this email. My Straight Talk family, you may have just joined us, and we've been discussing tonight very interesting topic, which we labeled a poor relationship with the truth or sheer incompetence. And my introduction, I said, which I'll repeat, that as a public servant, I have always felt slighted when some voters would say to me that they believe that all politicians are dishonest. And to me, that statement bordered on being so offensive to me, respectfully, especially if you are someone who works hard to help the same people who, as my grandmother used to say, would turn ungrateful. Now, human beings are not perfect. We're not perfect. We all make mistakes. And some politicians are unscrupulous, I would confess. But that cannot justify anyone taking a broad brush and painting all politicians with corruption. My straight dog family, I made mention as well about a situation where someone defamed me. And this individual really defamed me. And I went to my lawyer, good lawyer, King's Counsel. And my lawyer said to me, man, Patches, don't waste time with that. He convinced me after our discussion. As one of the things he said, you'll spend years in court fighting that battle. And at the end of the day, get some money, so what? Said the lawyer. And ever since that time, I adopted the approach, well, boy, I cannot control what you say or what you do. But surely, I can control how I react to what you say or what you do. You may not agree with me, but that's how I deal with these matters. And ironically, we now have a breed of politicians in government who come across as if they are pagans or paragons of virtue. And they label their opposition as being corrupt, as treasury rapists. And you know this famous politician who beats his chest and says he's going to make people shake in their boots, who sent out veiled threats to name and shame opposition supporters, who went to the parliament and cloaked himself with the legislative immunity or parliamentary immunity and said all sorts of things about upright citizens. He gave you half the story and did not give you the opportunity of ensuring that there's due process. And due process in law gives everyone the right to a hearing. But he goes and he maligns people, says all sorts of things about people. But my straight dog family, they started even taking back people's contracts. Just yesterday, Night Watch Security, all their contracts were unceremoniously terminated. What does Ham do to destroy or to undermine the government? All he does is employ 80 or 90 persons. You heard someone was shot at the Joseph N. France Hospital. That's under Marcellus' time. That's how security got to the hospital. They built a hut, remember, and could not implement it. But that matters not to Jew. Because over the last 6 months, those associated with the ruling party have continued to preach what they have practiced for months during the campaign leading up to the August 5th elections. And my straight dog family, now they are in government, they have given a literal meaning to their political mantra during the campaign, get rid of them. Let's go to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Patches, good night.
Good night, my brother. How art thou?
Why are you all right, you know? This thing ain't so nice, you know. I mean, this young man got a good country. Run the country. Stop telling the poor people. The country, no way. You got all kind of nationality in the country. Living good. I can't do all of this. Living good. Petition going home. Man, done this stupidness is not sounding nice. Now we all them young for the boy recruiting up there. I said, remember in the town meeting, I was instrumental when some man went up there at night and left a bullet up in the hospital. And went up St. Johnson there in the community center. And Timothy rise to the call. What's wrong with Dr. Joe? What's wrong with this guy? Who advising him? These people, these non-progressive people going on the media checking nonsense and you're going on the road. Since it has passed that man is Nacho and Simmons and the Mumu Man. What's wrong with these guys? It's funny that business and sweet, you know. Because me know what happened. Me see this, all this stuff, me hear in the comments and the road, me hear them talking. The country need that right now. People want peace. I run the country. Run the country and stop turning away people, man. It's not nice. They were like talk to me, you know, because we don't talk in this media here. And I ask you guys to come to the country and talk. Come to the country and talk. Because a lot of them want to talk, but they're just scared to talk. But it's not nice, you know. It's not nice. And I hope you not for you know. Remember where you come from. Food used to pass off and from Monkey Hill from people for you. Don't need them nonsense. Think it's in a small place. Me not like mine to go Monkey Hill. It ain't nice, you know. And that's what you just see jam them talking, you know. That is have a good night.
Have a good night, my dear brother Jam Down. And it's so true, you know. All of a sudden, Jew wants to use half of the resources of the country. And if you're not labor, you shouldn't be employed. But unity was a good example, no matter what you want to tell me. And I hate to upset you, but it is fact. Unity allowed labor, PAM, PLP, everybody to work. And you want people on the dole, Dr. Joe. Caller, you like.
Mr.
My dear.
Hello.
Yes, my dear, you're live.
Mr. I think Gildy's son have the security at the hospital. I don't know. Me too. And he's a labor man. So they're moving him too. So they're moving the security from hospital.
I don't know who is Gilby's son. I know that night security owned by Heston Ham is being removed.
You know Gilby's son, right?
I don't know if he has security at the hospital. Does he?
Okay. What I want to say, on TV, there was a machine for cataract handed over to the cheaters and the bought election. What come out of their mouth, you have to believe. But since he's a doctor and a prime minister, don't think about nothing he's doing. That's why they want to go into government. So come show you're good, to do better. The hospital need looking after badly. Now the nurses, workers, or maintenance have no shame to be working in a hospital like that, St. Timothy Falls. And if he did not get cheated out, that's the first he had to do. Either fix it or build it on the land. Build it there. The shed at the eye. Once fixed badly, you have to walk in water. Think about the hospital before they go any more dry ride because they're going to go. Play all the tape you have from now and before. And if they don't want to fix the hospital before the machine is done, otherwise it will get rotten before you get home safely.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Thank you very much, Alice in Wonderland. Patches, it seems like we have two strangers to the truth. Every time I listen to this Prime Minister, I know he's lying. If you just listen when he's talking, you will think this country was in the dark ages for 7 years. He is so dishonest and don't like to tell the truth. He was asked again about the number of passports he signed since he took office. And it was the same answer like last year. He don't know. He told the reporter to get the information from the unit. Now, if the Prime Minister don't want to answer, how those people at the unit is going to answer the reporter? This government really thinks all of us are stupid. Well, the unit don't deal with passports, emailer. The unit, in fact, deals with the applications which are sent to the Prime Minister to sign. Once the unit has done its due diligence and done all its work, then they send them down to the CORs, I think they call them. They send them down to the Prime Minister's office, who is the Minister of National Security, the responsible party, the responsible minister as it relates to citizenship and or passports. Good night, Patches. Read this other email. During the last election campaign, there's a big song and dance about the poor leadership of the Customs Department. I understand a set of people with outstanding allegations yet to be addressed who were removed from the customs have returned to lead with obvious vendetta. I need a show on the current status of customs because from what I am hearing that is happening at the company does not sound good. Reads this other email. It's 15 before the 9 o'clock hour, my Straight Talk family. And we're going to wind down at this time. We're on the downhill side of Straight Talk for tonight. And if you've joined me for the first time, Straight Talk is heard every Monday and Thursday from 8 in the PM. Caller, you live.
I had to come back with this. I forget, man. I got it good now, Patches. Patches, the Bible say, who God bless, no man curse.
Yes.
Nobody could curse you. You are a God-blessed child. And that is what eating them out. They can't get you. You shut up and you bring out the truth and the fact that everybody could know the truth about everything. And that is the reason why you see when you play back your song, but they can't say it in them. You have a real radio host talk show. You are great. You remember sometime last year, the one in Nevis, Brantley said, the best thing ever happened to Nevis is on the team unity with Dr. Harris as the leader. Dr. Harris. And all of a sudden, he come in, he forget, he used to spell the word fair share. But the alphabet don't have in the letters now, that spell the word fair share, so you can't call it no more. Well, he get vexed because some people went up by Vance Emery Airport yesterday to protest, and he was talking about it last night. They were saying that Vance Emery Airport is so good. Why they going up there go protest? Why they going up there for? Well, the same thing he do. When he prays up Dr. Harris and you Patches and Team Unity, say the best thing ever happened to Nevis is on the Team Unity. But then why he come down here went over care and go do? Ain't cost Team Unity and Dr. Harris? And the same thing. So hear them, see them and live with them. It's three different them. Good night, jam down. That is again, I gotta know. That is why I had forget, so get it out. Thank you. Play back the tone, but let it hear him how we praise up Team Unity.
Thank you, my brother. It's 12 before the 10 o'clock hour. And I'm going to forewarn you tonight as well in terms of the potential or possible increase in our electricity rates. And don't ask me where I got that from. I always go to the source. And the source of this information is the Prime Minister himself, who spoke about minimum wage, student loans, I think it was, and the possible increase of electricity. I did not make that up, my Straight Talk family. It came from the horse's mouth.
A couple of things things that we are addressing quickly. The minimum wage. I've informed the Minister of Labour, and she's going to move to get the committee or the parties together to look at the minimum wage issue. We also are looking at the student loan issue, and we are looking at the energy cost issue, because we are subsidizing energy significantly here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so we want to update the country on those things. A couple of things that we are addressing quickly. The minimum wage. I've informed the Minister of Labour, and she's going to move to get the committee or the parties together to look at the minimum wage issue. We also are looking at the student loan issue, and we are looking at the energy cost issue, because we are subsidizing energy significantly here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so we want to update the country on those things.
You heard him yourself. The government is subsidizing the energy costs in St. Kitts. So they're looking at that issue. So brace yourselves, my people, for an increase in electricity on the Jew, as it happened on the Douglas. To be forewarned is to be forearmed, my people. When things are going to be so difficult this year, the issues of inflation, a possible recession, and we have a threat looming over us that our electricity is being subsidized and perhaps will be subsidized no more on the Jew. Remember on the Douglas, we had an 85% increase, I think it was. But what will come on the Jew? Time will tell. Patches, during the press conference, I realized another date was set for Freedom of Information and Integrity in Public Life Act. The AG said in the next 6 weeks. Remember, he said by the end of last year. These people are so jokey and full of talk. As I said earlier, they are hiding their assets and their money. That's why they keep delaying the tabling of these important pieces of legislation, reads that email. My Straight Talk family, we discussed tonight the issue as it relates to the relationship with the truth, as we call it. And ironically, like I said, we seem to have a new breed of politicians in office who come across as if they are paragons of virtue. And they are fast, they hasten to label their opposition counterparts as being corrupt, as treasury rapists, and all sorts of names, all sorts of threats being sent out to opposition supporters, victimizing and terminating people. And for those who are asking about the injunction that was placed, or the restraining order that was placed on your humble servant, it is still there. There is a return date for the court, as it's called, for the 9th of February. I still am not at liberty to discuss that matter. So for those who are wanting to hear about it, I cannot be in contempt of court. But at some time, I tell you, the truth will come out, because you cannot hide the truth. And the truth is a defense to any piece of defamation. The truth is a good defense, the only defense, I should say, to libel. But my Straight Talk family, as I said before, over the last 6 months, those associated with the ruling party have continued to preach what they have practiced for months during the campaign leading up to the August 5th elections. And now they are in government. They have given a literal meaning to their political mantra during the campaign, get rid of them. To justify what has become their sacred utterance, their political tribal nastiness, the leadership of the ruling party has caused right-thinking people to question whether they have a poor relationship with truth or it is sheer incompetence. We tried to answer the question tonight, and I've heard what all of you have said. And I believe we can agree that Prime Minister Joe in particular has a poor relationship with the truth, and as well, he's incompetent. My Straight Dog family, Terrence Joe is swiftly building a reputation that is certainly not based on a view that he tells the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And it's sad as a politician when the general populace do not consider politicians like our Prime Minister to be particularly trustworthy. That's why someone said they are two strangers to the truth, it seems, in St. Kitts. The Prime Minister's relationship with the truth came under intense scrutiny at his press conference yesterday. He waffled, never answered the questions, and most of his responses seemed unintelligible. He refused to give explanations on all the questions, be it about CBI passports, be it about the bank, be it about SIDF. And he sits with an AG who has violated his constitutional oath and duty to our nation and its people. But is sheer incompetent at best. And the Kittitian and Nevisian people, we deserve better. We deserve a Prime Minister and an Attorney General who will actually do the job. He spoke about Christopher Harbour, and he told another untruth. But he was get some good advice if he stops banging his mouth without knowledge of the things he wants to bang his mouth about. He should probably humble himself and have a chat with the former Prime Minister. Come on. Eat humble pie and have a chat with the Honorable and former Prime Minister. When Harris became Prime Minister, he was told the same foolishness about SIDF owning 30% of Christopher Harbour. But what did Harris do? As a typical scholar who has a PhD, who has a doctorate in governmental accounting and finance, he arranged for Grant Thornton, one of the big four accounting firms worldwide. He commissioned that firm to value SIDF's interest in Christopher Harbour. Grant Thornton produced a comprehensive 61-page report with a 3-page summary letter dated March the 23rd, 2017. For your information, Dr. Joe, I hope you have got some education tonight. I will bet anyone that who listen to this show is the first Prime Minister Joe. It's the first time he's hearing this because he had to be with the nonsense he utters. the Team Unity Government commissioned evaluation of the SIDF's interests at Christopher Harbour. And my people, this is what Grant Thornton said, and I quote, SIDF owes 30% of the outstanding shares of KHT. Thus, their pro rata equity value is in the range of $8.4 million to $10.6 million. It provided further clarification and noted that this is the equity value after the related party notes mentioned above have been fully repaid. SIDF, it went on, is a 30% shareholder in KHT, and Derby is a 70% shareholder. But due to this, SIDF being in a minority position, thus their equity position is subject to certain discounts. And the discounts were determined as follows. Based on a minority discount of 15 to 20% for the SIDF position, which results in their fair market value being in a range of $6.7 million to $8.5 million based on a 20% discount, and $7.2 million to $9.03 million based on a 15% discount. End of quote. So my Straight Talk family, I asked the question as we wind down tonight's programming. Who told Prime Minister Jew to state at his conference yesterday in front of the whole world that SIDF owns US $200 million in Christopher Harbour? What nonsense. He just got up and said that? Why didn't he check it out? My Straight Talk family, our nation, our federation is in the hands of someone who is ill-informed and unprepared for the job of leadership. And he has no excuse. He should have prepared himself. Perhaps it took him by surprise that he won. But my Straight Talk family, when we go home, or before we get to bed tonight, let's just get down on our knees and pray for our nation. Our nation needs leadership. Our nation needs help. And my Straight Talk family, we all need governance. We all need a government that cares about us. A government that can help us out of the quagmire, believe it or not, in which we find ourselves. My Straight Talk family, the point we made tonight is that either Jew has a poor relationship with the truth, or it is sheer incompetence. That's my story tonight, and I am going to stick to it. Until we connect on Monday for another edition of Straight Talk, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. Remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. All you got to do, my Straight Talk family, is to believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, I want to thank Almighty God, as I said. I want to thank you. Those on social media, Facebook, YouTube, those on WinFM who have listened, those who called, those who sent emails. Remember, you are the ones who make Straight Talk, and for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. I am Ian Patrick Libert, and God's Spear, we will connect on Monday for another edition of Straight Talk. Until then, be good to yourselves and all whom you meet. Have a wonderful weekend. Rest well. Go to church. I will on the weekend. And we will connect on Monday. Keep moving on, my Straight Talk family. Bye-bye.
the top song.